So it's the morning, and I woke up with a craving for pancakes. So today I'm going to share with you my recipe for Swedish pancakes. And this recipe comes out of this book called Fika, which specializes in the recipes around Swedish desserts that would typically be given during the coffee break in the middle of the day. So what we are doing here is I've started out with just about a tablespoon of butter. I don't have any regular butter, so I'm using vegan butter in this recipe. From that, I am going to crack open an egg and wash my hands. Okay. Then we're going to add some milk to this. So I have a scant cup of milk. Then we're going to add just about a fourth of a teaspoon of salt to this. I'm going to mix this up. And the last ingredient is flour. So this will require 1/3 of a cup of flour. One thing that you probably notice already if you compare this to, let's say, American cupcakes is the ratio of liquid to flour here, definitely leans more towards the liquid side, which ends up making these pancakes that are more flat than the puffy ones that you typically see at like an American diner. If you find that the batter is still too liquidy for you, you can certainly add more flour to that. And originally, this recipe was written for 3 eggs and 1 cup of flour, and it made too much for one person, and so that's why I tend to cut the recipes down. So I'm just going to add a little bit more flour because I like mine to be a little bit more um, full than the initial recipe. The other thing that I'm going to add here is just a dash of cardamom. Again, this is totally optional, but I just like that background flavor there. All right, so now we're going to go to the kitchen and fry these up. Okay, so I have this cast iron skillet that's designed for basically small pancakes, and that has already been warmed up and greased with coconut oil. So I'm going to add some of my pancake batter to this. And these pancakes, they do cook pretty quickly, and so you just want to keep an eye out for them, watch as the bubbles form, and flip them when needed. You usually need about a minute or two on each side. And you can certainly cook them if you want them more brown, you can cook them longer. So there's a lot of flexibility here. I've made this recipe with all different types of flour, and so in this recipe I'm using whole wheat flour. You can certainly use buckwheat flour, rye flour, whichever flour that you have on hand. You may need to add more or less depending on how dense it is, but it's quite flexible and quite easy to make. So don't be intimidated by that. So as the pancakes are cooking, I'll mention that if you want to spruce up the pancakes a little bit more, you can certainly add some protein powder to it. And so if you don't want to consume your protein through a shake or anything like that, you can certainly infuse the pancakes with a scoop of protein. Okay, so this round of pancakes seems like it's about done. And so we're going to just plate them and then start on the next batch. So already melted coconut oil, so I'm going to just apply that here. Probably not necessarily. I typically would do it after the second or third batch, but figured why not. The griddle is now much warmer than when I initially started, so it's on medium heat, and so they probably will cook a little bit faster than the first batch.
Fika is a word that has been used in the Swedish language for more than 100 years. It is a time for you to take a break, often with a cup of coffee and something tasty. It's a time to just wind down, either with yourself or another person, and just take a moment and enjoy the food and enjoy life.
So here we have it, a nice one serving, maybe a little bit more, of Swedish pancakes. And so now let's go enjoy it. So let's try out one of these pancakes. I'm gonna first try out some sour cream and the elderberry and peach. Let's see how that goes. Mm. This elderberry has some intense sweetness associated with it, and it really brings to life this pancake, which at its base is just flour and milk, so it doesn't have that much flavor, but it really brings everything together. This is really much a harmony. Well, I hope that you enjoy this recipe, and if you enjoyed this, feel free to subscribe. I would appreciate if you subscribe, and that way you can be notified when I release other recipes.